right. Oh, we are going at 2:30 sharp. There's me.
What's going on, everybody? I'm here with AJ Ryder. Thank you guys so much for watching Prime Time Live. How are you doing today, AJ?
Which camera am I looking into?
You can look into this one for right now. We're gonna bring some stuff around here. So, you've had a fantastic sporting career in your time. And look at that, we got some sound going on already.
Is that a caller or are they calling in already?
So you graduated from Amboy.
I did.
You played football for Amboy. You played several sports for Amboy.
I did.
And then you went on to Eastern Illinois.
I did.
What'd you play at Eastern?
Football.
Football. Okay. Well, what position?
Tight end and H-back.
Okay.
Mostly special teams, let's be honest.
And then you went on to go to California, and you became the strength and conditioning coach for USC.
Yeah, I was a strength and conditioning coach. I started out there as an intern. Was there for about 2.5 years. I was doing the Lane Kiffin era there with Marquise Lee, Robert Woods, those guys. Yeah, and then with all of that, and then you had a special side career, and not really a side career, but a really special career. You got to make it into WWE. You're part of the NXT roster. So you've definitely got one heck of a long. I've been around, man. I've been around.
Career sheet there. So let's kind of break through. Let's go back in time a little bit, and let's go back to when you were playing for Amboy.
Do we have
yes,
that technology? Do we have that capability here?
We're going to go back in time, and we're going to talk about what was it like playing, in a smaller school. Not only playing for, what were we, 2A, 3A at the time, and then
2 or 3.
Yeah, and then your dad was head coach, and going through all of that. Like, what was your experience like in football?
What was it like? I would imagine it was kind of your run-of-the-mill. Am I supposed to look into this? I don't know what to do with my hands. No, it did give me a little bit more of an insight and a unique opportunity for sure. Having my dad, who just recently was announced that he's going to be only a High School Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Yeah, as he was awarded that, and as he retires this year. Winning their last game, but no, I think it definitely kind of set up the pedigree that I had and set me up for athletics that I've done now for the rest of the last I don't know how many years it's been.
Yeah, and then with going from that to playing at the college level, for those younger kids that might be watching this, what's the experience like going from those. I don't want to say slower action, but I mean, as you get older, the tempo picks up and stuff like that.
Well, no, slower action is kind of a way to put it because I mean, the tempo of the game it speeds up so much, and then even from a lifestyle standpoint, your football becomes what you do after school. Now it becomes kind of your job, even though you're still a student, and they say student athlete first, which is a little crap, but no, it becomes really your main focus, and especially during the season, off season, that is the only thing that if you want to play, obviously that's the only thing you're really focused on, and it definitely takes up a lot of your time, even though you still find time to party and stuff. But yeah, the transition between it becoming more of a career and a lifestyle and the tempo of the game is easily the biggest thing that stands out to you when you make that transition.
Yeah, and you got to even see a couple of transitions from Eastern Illinois, which is. What are they, D2, D1?
1AA.
Or 1AA, okay. And going to USC, which, they're, nationally ranked and all of that. What was it like, also, what was it like going from the player side to the coaching side, in a short period of time, too?
It was interesting, having gone from, when I was a senior at Eastern, and you think that these guys, we had people who were, possibly going to get drafted, and they were on the radar and as undrafted free agents and so. And then going to USC, which is arguably one of the most prestigious college football programs of all time, and then you see those guys who, at the time, I'm the same age as a lot of these guys, and these guys are men compared to me, and it really puts the whole thing into it takes a certain caliber of person to play and succeed at that level of football, and it's different.
Yeah,
sure.
It's definitely different. And from my standpoint, I got to be on the sidelines at University of Tennessee and Iowa. And I remember one of my favorite times was walking along the Hawkeye bench and comparing myself to linemen. I'm 6 foot.
As you do.
Yeah. Comparing myself to linemen, I'm like, I can hang. I can be here. And then they were playing. It was Iowa versus Nebraska. Got down to the Nebraska side and watched their defensive line go from a 3-point stance to standing, and me literally just do one of these numbers.
Yeah.
And was like, that's why you're going to the NFL. Yeah. So what was it like?
This makes sense.
So what was it like for you to be going from that level at Eastern? Basically being a guy that pushed people around to now coaching guys that are supposed to be younger, a little bit less than you.
Yeah, especially in the weight room, because I was always a workhorse when it comes to weight training and stuff, and I was the strongest guy on my team at Eastern, one of the, and then you go to USC and we bring in freshmen who just with no form and nothing else, just pure brute strength, looks like they're gonna break their back trying to throw up a power clean, and all of a sudden and they're doing 40 more pounds and this is the first time they've ever done it. Mm-hmm. And so that's demoralizing, to say the least, but at that point you do know that there's a lot of potential to work with there, so that's in a way that's exciting, because my time had passed, so now at least I can focus on trying to make somebody else, succeed.
Yeah, and then we'll go into some of the things that are happening now. Obviously, we're all in this coronavirus. The world of sports
what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it?
The world of sports does not exist as of right now, and it's kind of questionable onto when some of that stuff's going to come back. Now, we graduated back in 2006, so we didn't have to worry about any of this stuff. But a lot of those 2007, sorry. A lot of those seniors.
Do your research in an interview, man. Come on.
I know it. It's been
professional.
What's it been like 15 years, 16 years? I don't know. But what do you say to those seniors, that missed their baseball season, and they really needed that coach to see them to get looked at?
What I say is I just duck my head and I walk away. No, I mean, it's a shame, and it's been talked about everywhere. Like, what do you do in this situation? Because this is not something we've ever had to deal with.
Yeah.
No one has been prepared for this. We're probably more prepared for a UFO invasion as opposed to having to figure out what to do with seniors who missed their spring football or spring sports. So, when you're relying totally on your junior year, and if you're one of those people who's kind of on the cusp of getting looks, and right now it's all about just if they're having camps, if they're not having camps, just finding whatever it is you can, even if it's sending in film that you're not necessarily proud of, but just getting your name in front of somebody, and then hopes that off of recommendations and off of your coach giving you some pretty high remarks to collegiate coaches and in that way. So it's that's a difficult one, man.
Yeah, and I wasn't ever asking for a straight "this is what you need to do" answer,
right?
Either, because there's really not a whole lot that you can do with the situation. But we're coming from a small 2-3A school to begin with, so already we were looking at. We weren't high up in there in the ranks.
Yeah, you're already not getting a lot of looks.
Yeah, we weren't Aurora Christian.
Yeah, exactly. When you're down in the 2-3As, you're depending a lot of times on being able to go to these camps for these schools, so the coaches get the opportunity to see you, going to whether it's the University of Iowa's senior day camp or junior camp or whatever it may be, and now you don't get that opportunity because none of it's happening.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of stranded off in an island right now, just hoping word of mouth spreads and you can get an opportunity that way.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily for the football playing seniors, like they were done. But when it comes to, I mean, what a lot of people might not realize is once you hit that college level, like practice starts. It doesn't start in August. Practice starts like what is it?
Practice starts the moment summer starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, I mean, you got your team building exercises, you got your strength, and you got your conditioning, and you got all that stuff. So you got college kids all over the country right now that are just sitting at home, wondering like what's going on with stuff like that. So you, being a coach, how do you feel like you would have handled the situation, like to keep your guys in shape, to keep them going when they couldn't make it to the gym?
Well, we do. Thankfully, technology right now is so far, advanced to the point where you can keep track of a lot of these things to hold the players accountable. Because obviously, you're not going to be able to be around them, but they're still going to get their programs. They're still going to get their diets and the things that they need to be following. And you better believe every coach out there wants to weigh in, and they want to see a videotape of that weigh-in to know that there ain't no extra 5-pound plate sitting on top of the scale. Because they will go to that lengths, and they will call their coaches. They'll call moms and they'll call parents, and they'll make sure that they're doing what they got to do if they're not on campus, which obviously a lot of them aren't right now.
So for you juniors that are out there, pay attention. And let's get into that a little bit, like because of your football career. When was it that you started really looking at going to college to play football? When was it that you knew that's what you were going to do and you were going to start making your moves to go there?
I think when I was like 3 years old and my dad was a football coach at Amboy High School. No, but that process really starts for me, having no one really before me go anywhere big-ish. We had a lot of players play Division III and stuff, but having gone to any higher Division II or one, I had to kind of figure that out on my own. So what I did was I just made up as many films and stuff as I could and filled out, go on to a lot of the websites have questionnaires that you can fill out, and, hopefully they'll send you a letter and ask for film, and that's all you really have to do. Or it's finding out who the position coach is, write down his name, write down the address to the stadium, send off your film, and hope for the best. It's probably a waste of about $5 or $6, but sometimes you do get response from that, and it's just being proactive, to be honest. And
I mean, that's just something that I feel that a lot of these smaller schools, including Amboy, was missing out on, like getting that drive, because we really haven't had anybody go somewhere bigger. And it's not that we didn't have the talent. I mean, yes, we were a small school, but this is one of the things I talked about with head coach Jeremy Pruitt at UT, is that a lot of this stuff, when it comes to this, is the bigger schools. It's not that they're saying that the smaller school doesn't have talent. They're just saying that they don't know who that person is.
Well, there's just no way to showcase it in a lot of cases, because when you're coming, especially from Amboy, there's not much around here. Let's be honest. Yeah. And these football camps, you don't know who's going to be there. They say, scouts are going to be at this camp. Come to this camp. Oh, how do I know? Do I really want to drive an hour to give somebody my money, which they're always overpriced? Let's be real. They're always overpriced. So let me go pay $1,000, $500 for my kid to go catch balls and hope that somebody is there, when you really don't understand, get a very good, you don't know the background of that camp. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how many people have really signed from this. You don't know the quality of people that are there and the coaches that are there. So it's hard for athletes who are from this level, from these smaller towns, to really kind of be able to showcase themselves a lot of times.
Yeah, and I mean this is kind of like what we're doing here, is trying to give some of these athletes a little bit more of a chance to become recognized. And with something like this, also with smaller schools, and this is something that I hate to see. When we were in football, we had a thriving football program, and now I'm hearing rumors that Amboy might be going down a level.
We won't even be playing 11 football next year.
So that's, I mean, being at the level we were at, and now seeing that they're going to go down to a completely new class altogether. What does that make you think?
It makes me think my dad got out at the right time. That's for sure. Because I know they had talked about wanting to do 7-on-7, fresh soft, 11-on-11 varsity last year, but he didn't want to do that because it's two entirely different systems. That's two different games you have to learn. So they just went with one varsity 11-man team, and whoever's going to take over the job this year is really going to have their work cut out for him because that's going to be an absolute nightmare, having to figure that out as well. But it's a shame, though, from when we were growing up and when we were going through high school, just how big of a football town this was and how much that's declined. And it's strange, too, knowing, the people I grew up with, and from our classes, and those are the ones having kids now. Like a lot of them still live around here, and yet somehow that football spirit has died so much. Yeah. And it, I don't know where to fix it. I also haven't lived here in a long time, so I really don't know what what the causation of that is. But it definitely is sad to see.
Yeah, and sad to see is probably the best way of putting it. Is there, in your opinion, a way to get back into the rhythm and go back to a normal? I mean, does Amboy have to have a state winning season to bring that draw back again? Or
well, let's be honest, when you win, it draws attention. That's always how it's going to be. And if they're successful at the lower level, eventually maybe we can get back up there. But yeah, it's going to start with winning, and hopefully we see the people from our classes when they're kids, because I would like to think that the people I played with, the people we played with, would instill those same kind of values and put that same kind of emphasis on sports like it was there when we were growing up. So I do think the future hopefully will look bright as long as we can keep that kind of reestablish that kind of culture around the area. So
and I mean, and it's not just Amboy. There's several schools around our areas, including even some of the ones that are getting up closer to Rockford and closer to that level. I mean,
when we were growing up, I didn't even know that we played anything other than 11-on-11 football in the state of Illinois. And it turns out here we are. And kudos to the IHSA and them for at least giving those kids that want to play a different opportunity, because I know, 3 years ago when this downsizing started to really hit, that some of these teams were walking in there and just getting squashed because they didn't have the manpower, which wasn't fair to them. But to not see that fixed and re-raise the numbers again, to see them just create another league, I mean, I guess that's their way of fixing that. And I guess with the downsizing, I mean, is it with a lot of these, we got younger parents nowadays, kids they're not really playing junior tackle like we play junior tackle. I mean, some of them are, but some of them, might do a season and then realize they don't like it, or they're stuck playing flag football all the way up until their first time to get pads on, and there's that difference. I mean, you can learn the plays in flag football, but you're not getting any of that contact when it comes to this. So, I mean, just as I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this, just as a culture, do you feel like the football culture is shifting with the light of it has been vilified a little bit more with the recent concussions, CTE, which I clearly have. It has been vilified a lot more, and you do see a lot of people say no, I don't want my son or daughter to be playing these contact sports, knowing what we know, and it's a real concern, and it's. Is it blown out of the water a little bit? Yes, because I think a lot of those studies are coming from people who have been playing football and these contact sports well into their 30s and 40s. I don't think and I'm not basing this off any research, but 4 years of high school football is not going to, destroy your brain. I will go out there and I have nothing to back that statement up with just common sense, to be honest. And I think the benefit far outweighs any negative effects that you're going to have from that. But I do think there's that a little bit of a scary thing for a lot of parents to put their kids through that.
And you see, there's the ad campaigns and all of that about, the CTE and the concussions and stuff like that. But and I don't quite understand why, but you don't see the new technology that's coming. Like a football helmet nowadays is 100% smarter than the football helmet that me and you put on back in the day. I mean, they've got, some of them even have sensors.
We were just a little bit better than the leather helmet.
Yeah. And that was in 2006.
Yeah.
Or 2007, 2008 for you.
2006 season.
Yeah. So, when you look at some of the newer helmets nowadays, I mean, some of them even have sensors in them. Some of them, like, there's a athletic trainer that's got an iPad that it'll register when somebody got hit too hard, whether they got a concussion or not. Just by that registering. With that, I mean, do you obviously now? Not all these schools have all this technology there. The new technology is expensive, but it is getting cheaper, and some of that stuff's getting handed down to some of the smaller schools. But knowing that, do you feel like parents should be a little bit more empathetic to letting their kid go out and play because they do have ways of making it safer, even though you are doing full contact?
Well, until that technology can get placed into a helmet that every kid's going to wear out there, I don't know how much. I know the studies and the research is going in the right direction, but when the more you study it, the more you're going to find just as much negatives and just as much positives. It's going to come down to, I want my son to play football because I think it's good for him, or if I don't want to risk it. I think the more we study, the more we research it, it comes down to we're looking at results from much higher levels. I mean, not having your kid go through contact football up until high school, I think that's a great idea. Let's take a little bit off the end of that. By the time we get to high school, if you want to play 4 years of contact football, is that going to ruin the rest of your life? Not unless you blow out your ACL and can never walk again. Yeah. Your head's not going to be the problem there. So I think there's ways to do it. I think the technology definitely helps. And hopefully it will put some people's minds at ease once they do get to that point. But just along with the technology that we can put in helmets and to keep players safe like that, I think there's also a lot of other alternatives as well. Yeah.
And so I mean, we got kind of going into the smaller schools, and it just standing on the sidelines and doing what I've been doing for the last 10 years. You're just not seeing kids go out for sports anymore, and is it just because of the rise of esports? I mean, like what is it that we need to do to get the kids outside and back out to playing and getting into these competitive sports again?
Well, every year I talk to my dad before the season, or I used to anyway. I guess not anymore. And every year his first complaint is numbers are down. We're barely gonna be able to fill a team. That's the conversation for every year, and I don't know if it's esports that does it, because I can't imagine you're skipping playing football because you're going to be a competitive League of Legends player at this point. I don't think, granted, if you want to go pro in League of Legends, it's probably realistically, statistically, your shot's probably better to do that, but to make a living at it, like, let's face it, that's not going to be a thing. It's the culture in where we are. It's the social media culture. It's the phone culture that we're in. We see it all the time. Less people are even going outdoors. And you can even tie it into just the way, obesity ratings in our country and in our children are sky high, and it's because no one's active as much anymore, and why would I want to play football when I can play fantasy football? types of things. It's just the way we've been moving now for a few years, and obviously we grew up in an era where it was get outside and play, and I just don't think you see that as much anymore.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit earlier. I know we're jumping around the conversation here, like we're talking about camps and stuff like that offered around here. Now, when I was in wrestling, we had the day and night camp over in Iowa, which that was the only one that I really knew of and knew that was reputable and stuff like that. Growing up, I didn't even really know if there even was a football camp for something like that. I mean, there's baseball. They call them summer leagues, I guess, and they do like little tournaments here and there. But like you said, there again, what's the legitimacy of somebody of a college coming and watching? What's the opportunity for or the option for somebody from University of Alabama coming up to watch a kid in Dixon play for for something like that? So, but in the same sense, it's also good to be out there playing. So, like, where do these athletes need to find that middle ground of like where to take it seriously and where to?
Well, if as far as like the recruiting aspect goes, most every major college is going to have their junior camps, and they're going to have their 3-day. I did one at the University of Iowa where we stayed in the dorms for 3 days, and we went through 3 days of practice with them. I did the University of Illinois. They had a junior camp where it's basically an opportunity for that coaching staff to run these high school players from all over through these drills. And now some of them were invites, some of them you get to pay to do, but when you have the tag of the University of Illinois on it, it's going to be legit.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's ones that like I don't even know if Scout.com is still a thing anymore. But
I'm sure it's probably still
I don't know. And like the Max Preps ones. Now, granted, a lot of them, have a little bit of corporate influence on there, and they're doing it because they have to make money too. But they do send some good people down there as well. So it really comes down to just being able to do your research and figuring out because at the end of the day, it's pretty common sense. If some guy's putting on a camp that you've never heard of, odds are he's probably just taking you.
Yeah, and when we're getting into technology.
Do you remember there was a Simpsons episode, Ace something, and he did the baseball camp?
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, and they just
Exactly.
I do remember that season. Bob's Burgers did something like that too. Yeah.
Oh, Bob's Burgers. That's what it was.
And they had him swinging the bat at the vending machine.
Yep.
Staying away from those kind of camps. Yeah. Let's get a little bit of like the recruiting technology though. I mean, you talked about Max Preps and you talked about all those different sports sites. Now, maybe 10, 15 years ago when Max Preps was a baby. Putting your stuff out there, you might have more of a legitimate shot of getting there. But, like, now you've got every kid in the nation knows about Max Preps. You got coaches that are putting stuff on Max Preps. When you were at USC, did you ever hear of your coaches finding or seeing anybody from Max Preps to bring them in to take a look?
They don't. Okay, so with those websites, typically you're not finding people off of that. You're not going. That's a grading system for who you already know you're going to do, because the pipeline that they use is a lot more reputable. Because I mean, they'll go to those camps and they'll see people. I don't know if you ever heard the story of Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee played poker one night for like a bunch of hours, got a bunch of money, and then went down to a kicking camp down in Miami. For one day, kicked like 7 field goals, and one was from like 65. The next day, he looked on like Scout.com, and he was like the #1 kicker in the country going in, and then he went to West Virginia. Things like that. So as far as you're not, you're not going to like, okay, well, this guy's a 5-star recruit. Let's contact him. You kind of know, and you've got these names that you've been looking at for a long time that you've seen through whether it be locally, talking to the other coaches, talking to people you trust, talking to people, going to high school games and seeing these guys.
I guess my point for this question is, some of these younger kids that don't understand social media, and they don't understand, some of this stuff, or they think that they do, but, and they put all their eggs in that basket. Like they want to hurry up and they'll buy the subscription, they'll throw all their money and try to get their best video and everything up there because they're told that this is where the college recruiters are booking from.
Right.
Is it really worth it, or is it more of like the way that you did it, where you kept your nose down, you wrote physical letters? I mean, so where we were at, yeah, the internet was still growing, but we had pretty much full access to
from when we were coming up, and I don't know what it is now, and as far as I know, when I was at SC and when I was at UNLV for a summer, I never heard of anybody going like, oh, look at this guy's video. It was all, we want to see their tape that we either asked for, that they gave us. No recruiting service. I mean, and not saying no schools don't use those.
Yeah.
Because I guess one of them might be run by a scout who somebody else trusts, and that's how they get their claim, is because the guy who runs it is best friends with the defensive backs coach at North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that could just be as good of a claim as anything else. But for the most part, it's getting yourself in front of those schools directly, those national databases, especially now because they're so big.
Yeah.
I mean, no coach is going to sit there through hours. Well, they might have an intern or the quality control guy sit there and watch through all these tapes, because you also got to figure they're not going to sit through this database when they're getting sent thousands of tapes every day.
Yeah.
Directly to their office.
And I guess that's kind of my point is, you got people that are still doing it traditionally by literally handing a coach something and then putting it in with the filter of millions of other kids that are out there that are trying to make the same name, trying to go to this exact same school, trying to have the exact same position that the last guy had. Yeah. So just in the world of digital, I mean, because when you're an athlete, you have to basically digital market yourself basically nowadays to make it. Yes, going to a bigger school will help, but I feel like if some kids at these smaller schools can do it right, you could see somebody from from an AFC or from Morrison go to a Clemson or something, or U of I. It hasn't happened yet, and I don't understand. What's going on with this stuff.
I mean, if you're looking at those recruiting websites and things like that, as opposed to giving them $200 to when they'll send your tapes out to everything, you're much better off of because every college does it. You're much better off of going to Illinois State's one-day camp for like $50, $75. Because if you were really talented enough to do that, they'll take notice. When they notice when you're getting recruited by them or getting letters by them, guess what? Eastern Illinois knows that now too, because people talk. Eastern Illinois is like, okay, who is this guy? Now we have to look. Western Illinois is saying the same thing, and that's how kind of that pipeline starts.
Now, so you talked about knowing that you're good enough to get there and be there, and is it, if you're somebody that might be on the fence, is it worth going to that camp? Is it worth, like, say, even if you don't get picked, is it still worth the experience? Is it still worth the knowledge of it definitely gives you
it'll give you a gauge of where you're at for sure, and I think that's a valuable tool as well, because then you can, and also too, if you go to a camp and the school, it's not for you, that doesn't mean you don't fit in somewhere else. When I was getting recruited by Youngstown State, they had brought in two really big tight ends at the time, and I remember I was waiting to go on a visit there, and it turned out, they waited at about 3 days before signing day. Both of those guys had committed, and basically if one of them hadn't committed, I was going to get offered that scholarship, but they both committed, and it's like, look, it's like, I'm clearly good enough because they were gonna. I was just number 3 on their list, If I was number 1 or 2 on somebody else's list, and a lot of times it's like well, they only have so many scholarships available, and and they have to fill these positions. So I mean, if you go there and you compete with these kind of people, and they're really also usually really good at giving feedback too. So you go at least going to one of them. I would definitely recommend, because normally they're not that expensive. I mean, they didn't used to be. I don't know if they are now.
Yeah.
So if they're like $500 now, don't maybe hold off and think about it then.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess like just the whole point of what we're talking about though is just get your name out there. Get that.
Basically,
it's experience.
Get in front of the coaches, and the best way to get in front of coaches is you can do a lot more in person than you can on film, because film is what you're gonna do after you can introduce yourself. You go to these camps and you introduce yourself to a coach. Don't ever go to one and leave not having gone up to whoever you think your position coach or the head coach or whoever you can, and shake their hand and make sure they know your face, because then when you send them that video, they remember who you are. You know what I mean? It's like in wrestling. It's like, be memorable.
Yeah.
Like it's like, be memorable, because you're not gonna get recruited by not putting your name out there and being in front of people.
Yeah. All right. So then, you worked with USC. You've literally watched, young men become pro NFL players and all of that. We're here. It's draft day, and we're in the virus. And there's so much. There's so much. Yes, it's all around us. there's so much stuff that's going on. When it comes to this stuff, I mean, on social media, there's people already starting to make fun of the draft about like, I saw on TikTok earlier, people were saying they're mocking like a Cleveland draft pick where like it would cut out real quick and then come back and it'd be like Detroit, and Detroit was like, oh yeah, we got first round, and they're like, no, it's not work like that. But obviously, like they're gonna have better technology.
Zoom crashes.
Yeah, exactly. We got stuff like that. The experience now. You spent your entire life playing football, ready for this spot. And now, you got the virus, and now you're stuck at home, and you're stuck, sitting there waiting. Like, what is this experience going to be like? For not only for football fans, but for players themselves.
I almost feel more sorry for the fans, because at the end of the day, the players are still their dreams still getting fulfilled, and they're getting a hefty paycheck. So, sorry if I don't feel bad for you, Joe Burrow. Like, oh God, Joe doesn't get to go on stage in Las Vegas. Poor guy.
Which is a very valid point.
Yeah.
It's a very valid point, I guess.
But I really hope CeeDee Lamb. I hope this doesn't really just destroy his confidence.
And with that, it's sparked it up a pretty interesting deal because there hasn't been any sports. The sports betting world has really started to take advantage of this draft.
Yeah, because we got nothing else going. I mean, we're betting on simulated Madden games right now, so this is the closest thing to real we've had in a long time.
And I mean, with something like this,
I think that we can raise the bar on what's considered a degenerate gambler at this point, for sure.
And with that, I guess we can kind of pop a little bit about what you guys are doing now, because right now you're actually involved with a podcast that is part of the only sport that is actually running. It is. And what sport is that?
Legitimately running. Horse racing.
Horse racing.
We do a podcast called Triple Clowns, which tell me that's not a great name. We've been doing a podcast called Triple Clowns. We talk, my partner and I, and his girlfriend, we do a show where as long as I've known him, he's been a huge horse racing guy, and his dad even more so. Big Gary comes on the show every once in a while too, and the first time he did it, he was talking to us on the show, and he was doing scratch off tickets. You could hear him doing scratchers in the background as he's giving us his picks for the Florida Derby. But no, it's actually been super interesting because I knew nothing about horse racing. he obviously knows a ton. So I like to call it the podcast where we try to teach someone with a learning disability on how to bet on sports or on horse racing.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, I have not learned very much. But we've had a lot of great info. We've had a lot of great guests. We had Lafitte Pinkay III, who's from NBC Sports. Just the show hasn't released yet, but it will later this week. We had Gary Stevens, who's one of the greatest jockeys of all time. He's like, he was compared to having like Joe Montana on our show, basically in the horse racing world. So that show will drop, I believe, on Saturday. So it's been pretty exciting because we've been getting a lot of great guests. We've been getting a lot of great turnout because, again, it's the only sport going on right now. So there's a lot to talk about, and especially with the tracks getting closed. When's the Kentucky Derby going to happen? I mean, there's just as much news in this as there is, if not more, because they actually are running than there is in the NFL. Well, maybe not today in the NFL, but in the NBA and in Major League Baseball. So it's also very interesting because I had no actual comprehension of how intricate horse racing was until I started doing this, and it's actually a lot of fun. And we don't just talk analytics too; we actually have fun. Like the last show, we talked about every week. I talk about what sort of degenerate betting gambling I'm going to be doing that week. So we talked about the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, and right now the odds of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. What city are they going to move to next? And yeah, it's a lot of fun. You don't even have to like horse racing to really to enjoy it. So yeah, if anybody, well, I know you have nothing to do, so somebody check it out. I guess you got nothing better to do.
All right, guys. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back
we
here.
Have commercials on this?
Yes, we do have commercials on this. You're big time right now. so we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk to AJ Ryder about his...
All right, so can I do the commercial? So right now, we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be right back here with Cameron Jacobs, and stay tuned. Or don't. I don't care.
That'll work out just perfect.
I've always wanted to cut to it. Is that the commercial? Oh, what is it?
All right, we're back. That was quick. It was easy. You got to start somewhere. We got
was it?
Commercial. It was just one, but you know what? We love Dinger Nation. Thank you guys so much for being a sponsor of helping the show out.
I'm a huge fan of the name too, by the way.
All right, so we're going to talk about something that has never happened to somebody in Amboy, Illinois, and millions of people around the world make it or tried to make it to the level that you made it at, and that was you made it to NXT, and more importantly, you made it to the WWE itself. What was that experience like for you? I mean, just as a whole.
Chaotic. No, it was pretty surreal to be a part of the company like that. The first time I met Shawn Michaels, it was my favorite. He's only like 5'6" tall, but every interaction I've ever had with him, I still think he's taller than me, and I know that's not true, but he is. But no, I mean, just being a part of the locker room there, and just being one of the boys, and traveling from town to town, and just wrestling under that brand, knowing there's so much history behind it, and knowing what you're a part of. I mean, it's really something special.
All right, so you did it. We got established that he was there.
I was.
Let's go with the square one. What did you do to get discovered? What did you do to get there?
I got really lucky. So while I was working at USC, this is actually a fun story. So I want to buckle in. So I had been trying to find a place to train for wrestling for so long, and there's the guy's name escapes me, but he had a school that was like the jankiest looking school in the entire world when I looked at it online, but it was the only one I knew of. So I was scheduled to go to his, like having my first class, introduction class, on a Saturday morning. Well, my parents, my mom was in town, and Brett Rutherford, and a friend of ours was in town as well. So I got super hammered the night before, like stupid hammered. And I was supposed to be at this wrestling thing the next day, like 8 a.m. Clearly, I did not make it. Did not go. I remember getting an email. He chewed me out for flaking. He doesn't want the flakers to be a part of the thing. So anyway, I get a call from a guy who I was working with at USC at the time, and he wants to go to the LA Fitness Expo. Was actually in town that same weekend. I'm like, no, dude, I already missed this thing. I feel terrible. And now it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. So anyway, he gets me out of bed. We go. And while I'm there, I see Rikishi. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, okay, it's Rikishi. And then, of course, I go up to the booth, and Gangrel's also there. And they talked me into going to their school, like, as I showed up the next day. Because when Rikishi and Gangrel at the time, they tell you to go to school. I'm like, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. So I do, and then about 2 weeks after started to train with them, I took my student loan money, paid for school. Not actual school. I paid for wrestling school. While I was working at USC, I happened to meet John Cena came in because he came in when he was ever in town or in San Diego, whatever it was, and of course I didn't talk to him first day. Not way too scared. Second day, build up the nerve, and I told him what I was doing, and he asked me, do you want to fall down for a living? And I said, I would like to, yes, please. So he gives me his phone number. We chat a little bit, and he gets my information to the right people. And then during SummerSlam that year, I got a tryout. At that tryout, Bailey, I think, was the only other one there at that tryout that's still there now. Was me and Bailey, because we did our medical in Pittsburgh together. And so that was during SummerSlam, and then that January, all of a sudden, I was down at FCW in Tampa, and that's how I got there.
And you were there during the transition from the FCW to the developmental center. Yeah. Which coincidentally, that's when I was down there too, on the much lower level than you were at. But to see that change, what was that transition like when you were going through stuff like that?
FCW was kind of like, it was a little underwhelming when I got there because I had just gotten to the WWE. I'm thinking like, this is gonna be amazing, and then FCW is kind of like a little warehouse with 2 rings in it, and it was a little, whatever, but still at the same time didn't matter because, CM Punk walks through the halls and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm here. But no, so we went from, and our live shows were so much different too at the time because we'd have to put up our own banners that we made, and they were made by a local printer, and it didn't really have that feel, but we were just starting to use the NXT name. Just starting. And this was also a year before the network had launched. So 6 months later, we moved to the Performance Center in Orlando, which, me being new there, I had to go do pretty much everything. So every weight that's in there, I had to help carry in. Every ring that's in there, I had to carry all that crap in.
You mean to tell me that at the WWE they didn't have like a special crew that would come in?
No. That was me and the other greenhorns.
So you mean to tell me it's almost exactly like how it is on the
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, you make it off the independent circuit. You're still putting together rings, man. Like it's that never changes. No, so we get there, and then it's all brand new. It's phenomenal. Somebody actually posted a picture on Twitter not that long ago of the original class that was there. That was pretty cool. But now they've got 6 rings. They got the foam ring, whatever that's called. You get the promo rooms upstairs, and the state of the art weight room, and it just that's when you kind of realize, okay, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. And this is also the same time where there's NXT is becoming a thing, and they're just getting ready to start signing with Full Sail University.
So we had already started with Full Sail when I was in Tampa. We had been going, and we'd go there once a month, shoot 4 shows. or every 3 weeks, whatever it was. But we were still under the NXT name, and as we went on, we got to Orlando, start going there more frequently, and then we had the first NXT takeover, which I don't remember if that was before the network or after the network. But either way, we were still using NXT for all of our stuff, and then finally, we'd gotten down there. We'd always been working with Full Sail, and then that February, the network launched, and we all thought we were going to get paid a shit ton of money, and nothing changed.
Which is usually how it works in life. And in your time there, you saw some of the guys that are on the main roster now. I mean, you worked with hand in hand when you guys were part of the original class is coming through. Like earlier, you were telling me a story about you and the Wyatts. You're talking about we talked about one of our good buddies. CJ Parker is his work name, so we'll just go ahead and use that. Let's go ahead and use that. But the workings of how that went. What is it like seeing somebody that and used to talk to and hang out with on a regular basis? Now traveling across the not right now traveling across the country.
I think the coolest moment for me after having left was when Rusev, was a good friend of mine. Like we still play FIFA a lot online, and I don't think I've ever beat him still to this day. But we used to ride. Him and Lana were in the car every show for NXT all the way up until he made his debut. And when he came out at WrestleMania in a tank, that was probably the coolest. The coolest moment for me was for seeing somebody else who I'd been there with. Coolest moment was when I was at WrestleMania 30 and Lesnar beat Taker, and you felt the oxygen get sucked out of that entire building. That was the coolest thing ever. But as far as watching, my friends and stuff like that, yeah, definitely. When Rusev made his Mania entrance on that tank, and that was a pretty cool moment for me, having spent so much time with men and being as close as we were at the time.
We talked a little bit about this earlier, but who was your favorite person to work with when you were there?
My favorite person to work with were coach-wise, Norman Smiley. He was my favorite coach to learn from. As far as in the ring, that's actually a good question. Who would have been my favorite? Worked with Corey Graves a lot. Corey was really easy to work with. I think. Okay, I'll tell you. Okay. May not have been my favorite, but it was one of the most memorable is when Adam Rose started his gimmick and doing all the house shows with him, because those were fun because I didn't have to wrestle. I just had to be like, who is this weird dude and like flamboyant Mick Jagger looking dude like I'm in the ring with right now. So those were always really fun, and I had a lot of good house shows with the Wyatts, with Harper and Rowan too, because when you work with them, the back usually gives you about 30 minutes, so you get to go out and do a lot more stuff that you don't typically able to get to do if you're on TV with those guys. If I'm on TV with the Wyatt family, we're losing in about a minute and a half. Yeah. At a house show, we get to go 30, and we get to have a lot more fun and try some things and stuff.
And that's something that still blows my mind, even to this day, was the amount of wrestling fans that don't realize that there are those house shows that are out there, that they seem that all they have to do is go to Raw or SmackDown or the pay-per-view, whatever it is, to see them, and that's not the case. In my experiences with going to various WWE events, the house shows were actually
the most
more fun.
Most fun by far, because you don't have the pressure of them being overproduced. A lot of times, depending on who the producer is for that house show, typically sometimes doesn't really give a shit, and they'll let you go out and do whatever. You just say, hey, can I do a promo? Sure, I don't care. You probably just not even watch it. No, but yeah, it's so much more relaxed. It's so much more fun. It's more interactive with the crowd. House show versus Raw, SmackDown, Any day of the week, yeah. I'm going to a house show. I mean, I get it. Yeah, going to like a pay-per-view might be a big thing because it's a pay-per-view. But if you want more of the entertainment value, going to the house shows. I mean, bar none.
And not to mention that, but you also have a better shot of, or fans would have better shots of meeting you guys, because I know a lot of the house shows, the workers wouldn't actually hang out a little bit longer,
Right.
And just price wise itself is just it's a lot cheaper than stuff like that. Now, in main roster guys, obviously they've got, 3 house shows a week. They got Raw or SmackDown, whatever it is, and then
I don't know. I never
it's
made the main roster. Why are you asking me?
Well, I'm just saying. What I'm saying is
Yeah.
they got their schedule for you as NXT, because you guys only actually had one day a month where you guys were taping at Full Sail, right?
Right.
So what were you guys doing in that meantime? What was your guys' house show schedule like?
So we would train at the Performance Center. We had a 3-hour training in the ring, plus, you had about an hour and a half of weightlifting every day. That would be Monday through Friday. Thursday we would have a house show probably in Tampa. Usually Thursdays where we would drive out to Tampa. And then you had the show for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 3 shows there. Sunday you didn't have off. Sunday you had off. Saturday, if you weren't on the card that Saturday, you were training that morning and then going to the show. Friday, everyone trains, goes to the show.
So you guys aren't just sitting around waiting until all that stuff goes.
If you took whatever we were getting paid at the time and divided it like hourly, you were making like 12 cents.
Yeah. It's definitely it's kind of like a double-edged sword where it's glamorous, but it's just you're not. It's not glamorous enough yet. You get the name, you get the level. You get that kind of stance. Plus, you're working with literally the best talent in the world. You're not on the indies hoping that this dude from.
At least I knew I had a paycheck.
Yeah, or like what I was saying is, like, when I was there, I'd be working with some dude from Indiana that I've never seen before,
right.
praying that he doesn't actually lay one into me. That
I don't get punched in the face.
That I wasn't. I mean, I was okay with some contact, but like. When you get to that level, you're supposed to be, you are the expert in your craft.
Yeah.
You are the. I understand this stuff still happens, but like, it's a different level up there.
There's a certain expectation.
Yes, exactly. And with your time there, what was one of your favorite runs and storylines or something that you were involved with?
So we did a storyline that we did strictly for the Tampa house show we had every Thursday. And it was me and a guy who used to be my tag team partner. This is when I first started doing the motivational speaker, Tony Robbins gimmick. And we had I was his manager for, what felt like months. Every Thursday, I went out, and before the match, I would be, I had my headset microphone on, I had my book, and I'd be given the speech that Al Pacino gives in any given Sunday, and then the next week I'd be given like the one from Friday Night Lights as they were walking out, and him and Simon Gotch sometimes were partners too, and then eventually it came to a head where he was just like, dude, you suck. And then so me and him were married together then for a while, as we had the big payoff. And of course Nick Dinsmore was our producer for the whole thing, so it just got so stupid fun. I mean, the book, he ripped pages out of my book, and it like my heart like sank and I dropped, and it was just the most crazy, but so much fun. And I mean, when we talk about house shows being fun, like they never let us doing that on TV, but our crowd in Tampa, they ate that stuff up, man. It was always a good time. So, actually, anytime I got to do that gimmick, I always had a lot of fun with it. Like, Carmella now, as big as she is, there was a house show where I got to make her cry because she announced me wrong. and then I had to do her job for her, and then I banished her to the pack. There was a string of a lot of live events where I was, but in wrestling, I was a host / wrestle when I felt like it, and that's my phone going off. I'm sure it's my agent telling me of all these giant deals that I've got coming in right now. They seen me live.
Yes.
Now everybody wants me. I'm back, baby. I'm back.
And when it came, I'm sure like those little moments, stuff like that, and some of these people that might be watching, they're not gonna understand like what it is to have that moment. Some of the indie guys that are going through kind of get it. When you're going through something like that, and you're there, you're at the level, you've I can't say that you've made it yet, because even though you're at NXT, you're
right there,
but like
you're in the conversation.
Yeah, and so when it comes from there, like what is some of the biggest I guess hurdles you have once you even get to that level? Because you can't relax once you get to NXT. You have to you almost have to double down, don't you?
Well, it's sort of like being a pinch hitter in baseball, where you made the team, but you got to work harder than everyone else in the team just because you might get that one shot. And that's what in NXT it's the most frustrating thing there is, because you've made it there, but every week you're just kind of like, it's like in Rudy, when he looks to see if his name is on the travel sheet. That's what you're thinking every time we go to NXT. That's what you're. Am I on the card? Am I on the card? Am I on the card? No. So then you got to go back, and then you got to wait, practice and train for 4 more weeks, and then am I on the card? Am I on the card? I'm on the card. So it becomes the biggest hurdle mentally. I mean, I compare it a lot to like kind of being an actor, where you're going on all these auditions, and a lot of times you're going to get told no. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because in my case in particular, I kept getting told by Joey Mercury, Terry Taylor, they're all Dusty Rhodes. All loved my character, all loved, and they were just like, you're this close, and you keep being told that, and every taping goes by, and you're never on there, and it gets to you. I mean, it gets frustrating, and mentally it becomes, it fucks with you, and it does. It gets in your head, and then you kind of get into that, a little bit of a depressive state where it's like, what am I doing this for? Why am I here? Why don't I go do something else? Because I keep being told this, and how many days can I kill myself in practice for 7 days a week, and I'm just not there, and I keep being told I'm there, and I say mentally just having to go through that. I would compare it to like being an actor, like having to deal with rejection a lot.
Mm-hmm. And from your personal health and your fitness strain. Seeing those pictures of you from back then, like going from when you were getting there to when you were there for 6 months, like what was your workout schedule and stuff like that? Because it seemed like you just put on so much muscle once you got into it.
Well, it was putting on muscle, and then it was getting really really lean. I remember at one point Billy Gunn made my favorite joke, because I had to get for some reason. Somebody upstairs wanted a picture, because I had always wore long tights, and somebody upstairs wanted to see what I looked like in trunks. So I had to get somebody's trunks and put them on, and then as everyone's training, so here's the girl's ring, here's Billy Gunn's ring. Billy Gunn's got like all the guys who are on NXT weekly, and then there are all the other rings, and here I come in my trunks that I've never seen me in trunks before. I got really, and I wore pants, so my legs were pale as hell. And I walk out there, and this is after I had lost a lot of weight. I was just trying to get as lean as I could. And I remember Billy Gunn goes, "Troy, you got a really great body for a golfer." And that was at that point, I was just like, oh. But it's fun, with that stuff. It a lot of it's character dependent too, and if you ever read anything about Ray or Adam Rose, what he's gone through since having done the Adam Rose gimmick to what what he is now. I mean, there's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of stress to go through that, because if your character changes 1 week, all of a sudden you're, if Tyler Breeze, if they told Tyler Breeze they want him to be a bodybuilder, which they could do that. You never know, or so it's.
Yeah.
It just again adds to that stress, and if anybody who diets and does that stuff, that's a lot of mental. It takes a lot of mental toll on you as well.
Yeah, and just.
Oh, but back to the question you asked, my routine.
Yeah.
Every morning we were an hour and a half lift. I was doing a lot of Olympic lifting, a lot of things I had done. I tried to train like an athlete as much as I could.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys there like to do the bodybuilding type things, but I still tried to train as much as like an athlete as I mean, that's what John Cena did, and he was the biggest star in the company at the time. So I figured that was a pretty good path to take.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you guys did have some training and some coaching that was there, but how much of it was because they were telling you to do it versus how much you did because you wanted to do it when it came to like strength and conditioning?
Well, that varied from person to person. For me, I wanted to do it. Even my background, I had this brand new state-of-the-art weight room, so I was super excited to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people didn't want it; they just wanted to do their own thing, and they'd go to LA Fitness afterwards and get their swell on and do the whole thing. So
yeah.
But no, I mean, you were required to be there. I mean, it was like it's like being in college. I mean, weightlifting was a class you had to attend. So same thing as going to your in-ring training, because they're investing a lot of money in you, so you kind of have to.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like, I know from my experience when I've been around people that have been watching is they were like, oh, it must be so easy when you get up there because you got all these coaches and stuff telling you what you can and can't eat and what you have to lift and what you like basically like shrugging it off like oh, I could be that fit if I was already there. You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I mean, you were encouraged, but you weren't required by any means. Like if you got out of that what you put into it. Like no one goes there and just gets in shape because they're there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might lose some pounds just from training so much, but I mean, as far as getting that fit, you have to put some of your own effort into it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you don't put that effort in, you don't stick around there very long. So,
yeah, I mean, you are seeing like a little bit of a change. Back in their 90s, you either had to be 600 pounds and be 600 pounds and be athletic at 600 pounds to be that big guy, or you had to be cut and trim and stuff like that. Nowadays, you're starting to see a little bit more of that middle ground. You get a little bit, you got Kevin Owens and you got Bray Wyatt and
I think Bray was kind of the first one that when I was there who was kind of broke that mold where it's like, this guy's going to be a star and he doesn't look like he was, a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. But
that they wanted to make a star as kind of what I should say.
And on the back end, I mean, I don't know because I didn't know him personally, but like Kevin Owens and Rusev, even he's a little bit bigger of a guy. I mean, they're probably benching and squatting numbers that are ridiculous.
Owens not so much. Rusev,
yeah. So I mean, even though that these guys, might be a little bit bigger, like they're still throwing up these numbers that your average person isn't gonna just show up to WWE Developmental Center and just be able to like start racking up 300 pounds and doing stuff like that.
You'd be surprised. The ones who take it seriously are you can tell they take it seriously, but some people just it's like if Marquise Lee comes in to train with me at SC, what am I realistically gonna do? Because the dude already runs a 4.63 or a 4.4 and is the best football player receiver we have. Is there a lot I can do? Like, no, if in WWE, if they don't want your body to change, then like, what are you gonna do? Like, I don't have to be super strong to be a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
It helps. It should be. Injury prevention wise, it's a big thing. But I mean, and I don't mean to bash him, but if anybody which is probably what makes him a little bit more relatable. If anybody thinks Kevin Owens is strong, they have no idea what they're talking about, because the dude looks like, he's got the muscle tone of my grandma. And but that doesn't matter, because, he is what he is, and his persona is there, and he can do everything that he needs to do. I mean, he doesn't need to be super whatever. So, which, when you're saying that, like, there used to be the two type of body styles, now it's all over the spectrum, which is great, because I think, it gives kind of average fans a little bit something more relate to, as opposed to just being like, oh, what, Hogan, eat your vegetables and stuff. Yeah. I was like, oh, dude, this looks like he's going to have a beer after the show. This guy's awesome.
Yeah, which was always usually the case, back in the Attitude Era anyway. Those guys were going out to have beers. But, I'm just... Because there is that separation. There's always a separation. Is it more the acting side? Is it more the physical side? Or is it the combination? Because you got some really fantastic independent guys. That Lindsay Dorado, who is there now, but it took him. Gosh, Lindsay he's older than I am, so he's got to be in his at least 35-ish, and it took him, 2, maybe even 3 decades, or at least 2 decades of him, working before he got there. So, what is it that when you were there that you've seen is what separated them from your average indie show?
A lot of it's luck, and I'm not saying this because this was my catchphrase when I was there, but it's just being in the right place at the right time. We hear stories all the time about, Vince being backstage and just being like, "Who's that?" Like, "Oh, that's, Mr. Perfect's kid. Do something with him." Next thing you know, he's on TV. Same thing with just, when you get the opportunity to be at a tryout. Like, the last tryout, they might have signed 3 fitness models and whoever. Now, all of a sudden, this good, like, white-looking kid comes in there and who's in good shape, and he wrestles okay, but it's like, well, we just signed 3 of him. Like, we're not going to bring in another one. Yeah. Like, that's when people ask me, how did you get there? I say, luck. Yeah. Like, just dumb luck. I was just the right place, right time. Yeah. Like, when I went to my tryout, and I just, because at my tryout, when at SummerSlam, I knew I was in better shape than everybody, because I trained harder than any human being in history at the time, and we were doing drills, and when we needed extra people, I'd do the drill 3-4 times. Just because I'm like, I just trying to, like, that's what I know from football, that's what I know from athletics, and that's how I got seen that day. And by the end of the second day, they had offered me a contract. So, you know what I mean? It's
which goes back. I mean, you put yourself in a situation where you were in front of them more often. I mean, and this relates with everything that we've been talking about. Is you gotta be there. So.
So it really is just, it's persistence and just keeping in, just, one of those days, and just hoping you get your shot. And some people might not ever, but you're never gonna get it unless you try.
Exactly. And I feel like some people kind of get down on the independent scene, or they don't look at the independent scene as much. But, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, the independent scene is a monster in its own. I mean,
and so much more now. It's getting huge.
Yeah, and you're starting to see independent companies trying to become rivals to WWE. I mean, you looked at AEW now. I mean, now they're on, what is it, TNT or whatever. So well. And then they're gobbling up that old talent there, and TNA tried to give them a run, but they did the same thing that they did in WCW, which was absolutely ruin it. But when it comes to this stuff, I mean, I guess the way that you said it was just, be out there and be, how are you going to get there unless you try?
Right. and there's so much more. And I say this too, just because I was come from LA. I've done a lot of acting and and stuff like that. And it's just, there's so much more opportunities now. Like, if you want to be an actor or a director or whatever, with all of the streaming platforms, and, so much more content's needed. You look at, indie wrestling right now the same way. Ring of Honor is still strong. AEW is getting huge. And, well, granted, coronavirus aside, right now, I mean, the WWE is just as big as ever. The opportunity, there's more positions available now. They need more people. So the opportunity for you to climb and get there, and then once you're seen, if you want to go to WWE, they'll take the best people. If they want you, they want you. You know what I mean? And again, it's a luck and a timing thing. So
yeah. When you were there, we talked a little about this earlier, and this goes with the luck thing too. Was
I think I want to go to commercial. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can go to commercial. You want to go to commercial? We can go to commercial. We can send it right back to Dinger Nation. We talked about
DingerSports.com, or is that the website?
No, it's just Dinger Nation.
DingerNation.com sports. All right. And back to you.
Okay. We talked about Adam Rose. How he was in the what was it? It was South African.
He was doing that like mercenary type of gimmick thing.
And then he said what nobody else saw was there was a promo that was backstage, and
so every Wednesday we had promo class, and which you get up, you just you get a minute promo in front of Dusty and whoever creative is, but this one happened to be right before NXT tapings, and when NXT tapings, the promo class the night before. Because NXT tapings are Thursday, promo class on Wednesday night. When NXT tapings are the next day, all of the producers, writers, they all come to promo class. And he did the off the wall. He did the whole Adam Rose gif, which they have not seen. No one's seen this yet because he had been doing the South African mercenary Crocodile Dundee thing, whatever it is called. I'm not sure what it was. For years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he shows up with this, and everyone loses their fucking mind, like it blows their mind. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, a bunch of people are being asked to dress up in the bunny rabbit suits and run around the ring, and he makes his debut the next day. And then the next thing you know, the next 3 months at house shows, I'm losing to him, doing this whole thing, and yeah, little known fact. I was the one that Adam Rhodes tested everything on at every house show.
And how was that experience?
And having a little kick thing, and I had to sit there and look like an idiot, like, oh, what's he doing? Yeah, don't get me wrong, it was fun because I got to be a part of that, and so I got looked at a little bit more too. But still, yeah, it was an interesting few months for everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, that was just such a fast transition. But
it was like that. Yeah, it was like that. 2 weeks ago, you're facing Leo Kruger. A week before you're facing Leo Kruger, and then now you're in the ring with the same guy, but his name's Adam Rose. He's like blowing you kisses and stuff, and yeah.
And has an extra 45-second entrance.
Yeah, and he's got a posse with him that's all dressed, in like furry bunny rabbit suits, and yeah.
We talked a little bit about this earlier, but WrestleMania happened. They're still doing Raw, they're still doing SmackDown, but there's no audience. What you as a performer that's been at that level, what do you feel like that would be like for a wrestler now, especially for WrestleMania?
Well, I mean, granted, I've wrestled it in front of no people too before, but to do it TV wise, honestly, I mean, the way TV's done, it's set up for TV. It's not set up for the fans anyway when they do shoot Raw and SmackDown. So not a lot has changed except for now you have, as a performer, have to keep your energy up a lot more because you can't feed off the fans around you anymore. So I think it's great what they're doing, and I definitely commend them from trying because it's kind of impressive. The fact that they're still trying to do it, and I've tried to watch it. Sorry, I can't do it. But no, it's for the. But I mean, at that point, you're just. I mean, I don't want to say you're a robot because that makes you sound like you're not very good. But no, it's just standard procedure for you. You know what you're doing. Like whether it just can't be near as fun without the audience there. But
yeah. All right, so we're getting close to wrapping up. We've had quite the conversation here today. Is there anything that you want to throw out? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to get your name out there on?
Check out the Triple Clowns podcast. You can find it at the Big Umbrella. Big Umbrella is a company that we overuse for the podcast. That is on YouTube. You can follow me at Troy McClain WWE on Twitter. That's where I do all my stuff. And then you can find Triple Clowns on Twitter. For some reason, our handle is @clowns triple, so it's backwards. So I've lost everyone. Follow me @Troy McLean WWE on Twitter, and I'll tell you where to go. But no, you can find our podcast. We're on Stitcher, Apple, Google, we're all of them. So give us a listen. Even if you don't like horse racing, you might start to like it. If not, we talk about other random dumb things too that you might enjoy.
So you guys got that going on. What else you got going on in your life right now?
Well, I've been playing a lot of golf. Not a whole lot going on in the world right now.
I mean, like, did you have anything in the fire? Anything
No,
cooking
we wrote a comic book called Samurai Cowboy. That's on hold, like everything else in the world. You can Google that, Samurai Cowboy by AJ Ryder and G. Randall Johnson. That's out there as well. We're actually going to be doing a promotion on the podcast about giving away some free copies of that as well. And as of right now, that's our main focus is getting that out there, and hopefully somebody will pay us to do this podcast eventually.
Yeah, and I mean, you're
Dinger Sports or whatever her name is.
Is there any chances of you getting back into the squared circle? Is there any chances of you getting back onto the gridiron?
No.
Is there anything? I mean, maybe not so much as a player, but getting on in a coaching position.
Oh, in a coaching position, yeah, no. Those days were long behind me. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I am 100% open to not entering the squared circle, but I'll stand around it and talk shit to people. I don't know if my body can take that anymore.
Well, maybe you look at these guys. I mean, like Punk didn't make it till he was our age.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you're not out of it yet.
That would require a lot of energy on my part that I'm not sure if I have right now. Not to mention, nobody can run shows right now anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Talk to me after this whole thing's over. We'll see.
That's true. All right. Well, thank you so much, AJ Ryder. Thank you guys for tuning in.
I forgot that camera was over there this whole time. Sorry to the people watching.
We'll do this again here in a couple of weeks once we get everything going. But make sure you guys head over here to the website and go ahead and click this donate button.